In about 15 minutes, Season 36 is about to start, and Season 35 will end. So leaving from Season 35, we have some powerful cards. Black is losing both Drit and Duress, so combo is going to be a lot harder, and Duress just makes it worse into any kind of combo or control deck. And Nadu is leaving, so just no more Nadu decks. Memory Lapse, Long Reverse Pull, and Cryptic Command are leaving, so the counterspells are pretty terrible this season, which might make blue control a lot worse. Persist is leaving for News or Reanimator, which was pretty good this season. Berserk is leaving, so green aggro is probably dead. Kithian is leaving, but White Weenie and Boros Legends are both going to be fine, I think. Faust is leaving, though we are getting Condemned back. Phalia is leaving, though Orzhov control is, or some kind of Orzhov pile is going to be really good this season regardless. Kikijiki is leaving. We might be getting Pestermite back, but it doesn't matter. Twin is just not possible. Living Death is leaving, as well as Crypt of Agadem and Dark Ritual, so no kind of deck like that. Cruel Claw's Heist is leaving, so we basically have no good targeted discard. But we do have some good hand hate. Bob is leaving for any black low to the ground deck. Can't be played in Aristocrats, which is potentially good this season, or decent. Spellquiller is leaving for Azorius Tempoish decks. We could actually have a mono blue Spirits deck though. Benevolent Bodyguard is leaving, but White Weenie is still going to be fine. Glimmer Post is leaving, so Cloud Post is dead, though it pretty much already was dead. New this season, in Season 36, we have Wild Growth, essentially a Llanowar Elves that can't be removed. Potentially interesting for Enchantress, and pretty much any mostly green deck. But we don't have Arbor Elf to cheat on mana with that. Eladamri Skull, a tutor for any kind of creature-based Selesnya deck, which doesn't really exist, or probably shouldn't exist, but it's good if you're in Selesnya and care, and have like some kind of toolbox or combo. Warren Soul Trader, it's a Phyrexian Altar, which is not something we've had any kind of thing like that before. So, could definitely enable some combos, but it is 3 mana and dies to Galvanic Discharge. Doom Whisper, maybe not good enough for News, but it is interesting that you can go News, Unmarked Grave, and potentially win off that. Though you might just want to go... You could also just go untap with News, and then Unmarked Grave for Orc Lore Mage, or just play Buried Alive. So Energy is really good this season, with Tune the Narrative, Galvanic Discharge, and a counterspell. I believe it's called Ether Spike. You get 2 energy, then counter target spell, and then you may pay energy, counter target spell unless its owner pays that much. It's 2 mana. And it's basically just the best 2 mana counter this season, by far. Which makes any kind of blue control deck really want to play red for discharge to make their counterspell not a quench. So Izzet Control is probably the control color combination of choice. Though Azorius is potentially still better into aggro decks. And Izzet also has invert polarity, so the counterspells are just so good in Izzet. If you're countering spells at all, you kind of just want to be Izzet. Goblin Engineer for any kind of artifact deck, potentially really interesting for Metalwork Colossus because you can get a Semblance Anvil or tutor a Colossus into the yard. Chthonian Nightmare, potentially really good in a deck built around it, but it's hard to say if that deck will be good until it's played. We don't really have much graveyard hate. I think we are losing Silent Gravestone, and then there's Wheel of Sun and Moon, but I don't think there's anything for other colors really. Like there's Erebos' Intervention, but no colorless hate, I think. Or decent colorless hate. Flare of Malice for any deck with cheap black creatures. Especially Aristocrats, this is really interesting for. Or the Chthonian Nightmare deck, if it exists. Some more new cards. White Weenie gets Sanctum Prelate and Hopeful Initiate. Returning is also Cathar Commando, as another kind of disenchant on a creature. Sanctum Prelate is maybe playable. I kind of doubt it, but maybe in like the White Weenie sideboard, though they might just want Luris. Sheltered by Ghosts, potentially good in White Weenie, probably more of a heroic or Bogles kind of thing. I believe we have both Spirit Dancer and Thram for that. Godless Shrine, we are getting a shock land in PD, though it is the least relevant one because Orzhov already has the best mana and this doesn't change much. Mausoleum Wanderer, we also have Supreme Phantom, so Mono Blue Spirits could be a thing. We also have Curiosity, so could be something. But the counterspells are not great. Undead Sprinter for Aristocrats, though we still don't have Forsaken Miner. Sawhorn Nemesis is like a Torbran, but you don't have to be mono red, which is potentially good in some kind of mid-range or like aggressive mid-range deck, though it's hard to say if that deck will exist. The Ozolith, probably not very relevant because we don't have Hardened Scales, but if we ever get it back, it could be really good. We do have the other Ozolith as well right now, and Ravager, I think, but no Zabaz, no Hardened Scales. If you get everything in one season, as well as the Hangerback Walker, or whatever it's called, the one that makes Thopters, then that could be really powerful if we actually got everything, but that doesn't seem that likely because the Baz is really expensive right now. Oh, it's probably going to happen at some point. Niv Mizzet Reborn, so Niv to Light could be a deck, probably with Yorion, though it does just lose to Price of Progress, which is returning this season. It's also just not, the mana just isn't really there, and there isn't that much of a payoff for playing 5 colors. So returning Luris for White Weenie, Boris Legends, any kind of aggro deck. Hymn to Torok. It's been a little while since we last had this, season 25, I believe. So this is maybe good enough for Orzhov decks, Orzhov piles. I'm not actually sure though. And then it is just really good for black mid-range, like specifically mid-range, not control or anything. That's maybe good for aggro, probably not that good though. It's like maybe fringe playable. It's not really a sideboard card either. You kind of really want to be a mid-range deck or just a pile of cards, not a synergistic deck. Gaya's Guile for self-control, Profane Tutor for any kind of black combo deck. It's just really good for any of that, and maybe control decks as well. Horned Lockwell for control, probably is it, but it could be Azorius. Then Condemn for Orzhov control, but maybe Azorius control exists still. Price of Progress, as I said, going to banish the 3-color decks and still hurt the 2-color decks because they usually play like half of their mana base is non-basics. And Boros Legends, naturally as this red deck wins as well, but that generally isn't that good, especially without Kumano. Faces Kakazan. Smuggler's Copter could be a reason to play red deck wins though, as well as some other aggro decks. Or some mid-range decks that like putting things in the yard. Iona, the best thing to reanimate, and we do have Gifts Ungiven plus Unburial Rights for Azorius or Esper. Returning as well, Sithis and Sanctum Weaver for Enchantress. We are not getting Sterling Grove though. And it really is just a question of are people going to play the mass enchantment hate cards or not. Pest Infestation, the best green disenchant by far, but it's green, so it's bad. Hogak, probably not. There's not going to be a dredge deck, most likely. I don't think that's really possible. There could be some kind of aggro, graveyard themed deck or mid-range that has been played in previous seasons, though we don't have an Insidious Roots for that kind of deck. Elspeth for Orzhov control. Abundant Harvest and Abundant Growth are both going to be legal. So, Abundant Growth potentially does something with the Orion, but otherwise just makes mana bases a lot better in green. Though, you have to have a reason to be green. Jeskai Ascendancy really likes them. But it's not really clear what else actually wants to be playing green. Enchantress likes it, of course. Rotting Regisaur is legal, but no Dark Ritual this time, so no turn 1 7/6. So probably not very relevant at all. Torrential Gearhulk, potential win con for control decks, probably not that good though. I don't think Izzet has that much. Though it could get a dig through time back still. Factor Fiction is notable because we don't have any kind of effect like that really, or the ones we do have are pretty bad. So this is pretty interesting for Izzet. having actual card advantage. So I do think that White Weenie is going to be played a lot this season, and every season, Boros Legends as well. I don't think it's very obvious. Like, the only obvious decks that I can see are the ones that have already been played before. I don't think there are any obvious good decks that are new to PD, though I'm sure there will be some discovered during the season. But yeah, I do think that in the future of PD, White Weenie is going to be good in every season because we're just getting Champion of the Parish, Thalia, and Thalia's Lieutenant every season. And we don't even need Luris because we might not even want Luris for White Weenie because of Adeline or Benelish Marshall or Boromir, potentially in the sideboard. But yeah, I think that White Weenie, Boros Legends, potentially Izzet Control, Enchantress, maybe some kind of heroic deck, all are going to be good this season, as well as probably whatever gets discovered from the new cards. Aristocrats might be good. Or it's going to be good, but the question is it going to be one of the best decks? So yeah, that is it for my preview of Season 36. It is about to start as I'm making this video. I will try to make some gameplay videos pretty soon, preferably for the kickoff. Probably playing Izzet Control or something, or whatever I find good.